On today's Success and Excuses podcast, we have the one and the only Samuel Jamison. Now, we go back a long way, Samuel.
Yep.
Introduce yourself to the guests.
Yeah, Samuel Jamison, sales director currently for Smith Anderson. I've been involved in sales and strategy my whole life. You talk about being from Wishaw. I used to work at Wishaw Market when I was 10 years old, selling fake perfume and aftershave at a school bag, walking about. So, and I've stayed within sales my whole life. So.
And we go back, 7 years?
7 years.
8 years from the very, very start of my business journey.
Yeah.
And you'd reached it, was it on LinkedIn, I believe? Was it LinkedIn?
So, yeah.
I think you'd reached it to me on LinkedIn about the training programs that I'd run. And you brought me into I loved the business.
Yes.
You were in, talk about that, how we met and the business. And because I want to talk about the journey that people go through and your own journey as well. Yeah,
so I think it was 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
The company I joined, Quinn Global, they were a very, very ambitious company.
Yes.
There was a lot of the hard work, I'd say, already done in terms of the employees were highly motivated and wanted to get to that next level. But we just needed some guidance and structure and more belief to take that step. So then I seen your post on LinkedIn, reached out, and you came in, I think, for a 1 day or 2 day session. I can't
2 days,
two day session.
But some of them had actually came along to the program that I used to run an open program, and some of them came along to that, and then came in and did the two.
Yes. Try to remember, it was a long time ago, but I always remember there was a lot of positive feedback about it. Do you know what I mean? Because it was a culture where the people were very focused on personal development.
Yes.
They were wanting to get ahead. Do you know what I mean? They were wanting to do good things, from the owners right through to the employees. There was just this desire for developing people. So that worked very well.
But you're like that,
yes,
as a person.
Yep.
And I always say, right, someone who goes out to the market actively looking for personal development for their staff, career development for their staff, mindset for their staff, that tells me a picture of that person. Go talk us through, have you always been that kind of focused on development? How did that come around?
Well, I think probably the best job I've ever had has not been in sales.
Yeah, okay.
Even though I've been in sales, from the ages of 7 and 8, sitting under market stalls, copying computer games, not was the Amiga and Atari at the time, and flying by the law.
We won't mention that one.
So it was always in sales, but actually the very first job I got was in social work.
Right.
When I left school, I was there for 4.5, 5 years, and it opened my eyes to people. Do you know what I mean? And just gave me a great appreciation for what hard lives people have had, and some people have just had a crappy end of the stick, do you know what I mean? And they've just been kicked and punched and pushed. So that, I think, measuring that with my ambitions for sales was actually quite good, because it gave me a reason to understand people, and it's never left, to be honest. I've always been a champion of the underdog.
Me too.
I've always been looking, can I take this weight off someone and help them and move them forward? Because I think just those 4 or 5 years working within social work just gave me just a massive appreciation for how tough some people can have it. And I always come back to procedures, processes, technology. They can all make the boat go faster, but at the end of the day, you still need somebody to row.
Absolutely. People.
And it always comes back to people. Even if it's AI, there's somebody behind the AI. Even if it's automation, there's somebody that needs to program the automation and make it. So it always comes back to people. So I always think people are the success of everything that really you're doing. You want the technologies and the processes to make it go quicker, but you can put in all the policies and processes you want. Doesn't mean people will follow them.
Absolutely. I want to go back to social working.
Yeah.
So I was a panel, a children's panel member for 7 years. I was also the learning and development coordinator, and that really, I mean, and I am a very working class background, right? And, where I originally came from, a place called New Mains, Wishaw, there is a lot of poverty, a lot of poverty, and there's a lot of drugs. And I was when I say I was brought up in it, but definitely around it. A lot of my mates are now dead, right?
Yeah.
And
that's where my dad grew up, Newmans.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
wow.
partly Newmans, from Huntly, but then moved to Newmans. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I thought I knew what a hard life was until I joined the children's panel.
Yeah.
And see, sitting on some of those panels, obviously I can't really mention any specifics, but see, sitting, hearing some of this story, because it's all about the kids, but really a lot of the focus on the parents, right? But you're supposed to be, you're there for the better good of the kids, but you tend to end up, you see things and you hear things and you just think, I didn't realise life was so bad.
Absolutely.
And I think that experience, going back to what you said, is it makes you as a human as well.
Yeah.
Because you realise that it might just be that one course, that one conversation that's turned that young man, young lady who has grown up thinking they're worthless, thinking they're no good, had the shitty end of the stick.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Samuel's came along, seen something in them, went out there. So how can I, as you said, how can I help develop them?
Yeah.
And that conversation, and this is why I think leadership is so important, because that one conversation can change everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you agree?
Well, absolutely. And I think, especially in a country like Scotland, I've seen your posts recently about, no, we don't promote positivity, we don't promote. So if you're in a position, if you can recognise that actually you can influence this person's life, do you know what I mean? And it was that experience within social work, because it wasn't just children, there was the adult services and everything, and being able to see, adults who were in care, they were 30, 40-year-old, and they were still suffering from something that they went through when they was 8, 9 and 10-year-old, do you know what I mean? And I seen a good what do you call it, statement a while back saying it's easier to raise a child than it is to fix an adult. And you see that so often round about you. So I always just look at people and think, if I can take an element of that pressure off them, then I'm capable to do that. And if that can free them up a little bit to move them on, then that's what I want to do.
It's an amazing kind of outlook in life, because I'm a huge believer in training and development, and as you obviously know, I'm big into leadership and personal development, and I am constantly on a learning journey. Like my learning doesn't stop. I'm still trying to be a better leader, I'm trying to be a better father, I'm trying to be a better business owner, I'm trying to be a better husband. So I'm always how can I improve? Because I always think, right, I'm just a wee guy from Wishaw who left school with no qualifications and went on to do some pretty big achievements in life before I started my business. And I always think, if I can be that voice, if I can give that feedback, say to that person, look, you don't need to be great at school, because you don't, right? You don't need, especially nowadays, especially nowadays, right? You don't need to be like maths, English. I loved English, right? But I couldn't spell. Like dyslexia, but I didn't know dyslexia then. ADHD, I didn't know I had ADHD. I couldn't focus or concentrate unless somebody was telling me a story and I found it interesting, then I could concentrate. But I didn't know any of these things. But it never stopped me. And I'm going to go back to the bringing up a child. I believe a lot of it is down to my own father, and I'll tell you why. And we'll dive into this a wee bit as well. My father's work ethic, right, is, I've never met anybody in my life that has a work ethic like this, man. He just never, I think the only time he's ever taken, he runs his own company, taking time off was when he had a heart bypass. Right? He is so focused, he's just I think one of life's good guys, right? But he's not that positive, right? He's not positive. When I left Dubai and came back home and started up this business, he was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why would you do that? And I'm like, but I was really unhappy. He's like, how can you be unhappy and you've got all that money and you've got a fancy car and you've got a fancy house? And I'm like, but that doesn't make you happy. But I think, and there's a point to this, I think happiness is never about money. It's never about anything like that. It's about content, isn't it? It's when your outcomes and your expectations kind of like, what's your take on that? And about your own background and how you are the person you are.
No, I think happiness is different at each time of our lives, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? There was a time my happiness was coming from just working flat out. Do you know what I mean? And creating these opportunities and hitting targets and I identified that. And then there was a time where I took some time off work to spend it with my daughter because she was only 2 at the time, and realised I'm actually really happy here as well. Do you know what I mean? And so I think it can all come back to what's important for you at that time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think just through my life and upbringing, I think our dads sound very similar. My dad, massive work ethic, had a shop in Wishaw called Action Computers way back. Get done with trading standards for copying games and everything fell apart at that time, and we went from having a lot to having nothing. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of community service and everything. Just know there was a lot of pressure at that time. So I learned a lot from my dad from that work ethic, but one bit of advice he never gave me a lot of advice because you didn't want to ask him a lot of questions because it was like, how was life? Shout. Do you know what I mean? That type. So I was like, I'm not going to ask you a lot.
Awfully similar dads here.
But one best bit of advice he ever gave me when I was at the market, we're probably doing something shouldn't be done, and he was saying, like, one of the best things I can ever say to you is you'll need to unlearn a lot of what you've seen me do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That was one of the best bits of it. And it never really registered at the time until years down the line. I was saying, I could see my dad doing, because you do what you see other people doing, especially parents, not what they tell you.
Yep, absolutely. Model behaviours.
Yeah, but that was probably what he was limited to, of just being able to do what he was doing. And that really shaped me in thinking, I always want to be more. I don't want that type of life. I don't want that just work, but not be happy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And not be happy. And I think that comes back to just, like I said, the different stages of your life. There'll be different drivers, different happiness levels. When I joined the new company, after spending some great time with my daughter, I was so happy about getting this new job. It was a great company, great culture, great board, great people, big ambitions. The second week, I had a major depression point. I just had so much depression. I was like, what am I doing? I just wanted to go back home and take my daughter to nursery and pick her up from nursery. Do you know what I mean? Because that had routine and happiness had set in, and obviously still needed money, so I had to fight through it. Do you know what I mean?
You have to find a way.
I had to fight through it if I want to send her to the schools that I want her to go to and stuff like that. But I think those happiness points will fluctuate. Do you know what I mean? Who we are in 10 years, 15 years, our motivations today for happiness might be different then. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I think it's one of those things that it's hard to say, people search out for happiness. I think it's one of those things you need to find your way.
Absolutely.
Not saying this makes me happy. It's about testing it, feeling it, finding out what's important at that time of your life, and then it seeps onto you.
Absolutely, because I mean, when you think about it, as one of those ones, if we asked a room full of people, right, what success means in life, people will say money, happiness. You'll have a lot of different answers, but ultimately they all boiled into the same thing, and it kind of really is happiness and contentment in life. And as you said, it's a great way you explain it. As life changes, your outcomes and your expectations change. So that level of happiness, or what you consider happy, like I was really happy in lots of times in my career. Like really happy, making really great money, being able to go beautiful holidays, nice cars, nice houses, which is all nice. But there became a point in my life, Samuel, when I was just like, is this it? Like, is this really? I've got to look forward to this every single day. And in most people's eyes, that was the perfect life. That was the dream world. That was the dream job, the dream career. You know, that was, but it wasn't mine. Because my expectations and my outcomes started to change. So I started, as I was getting a bit older, I'm like, I don't really want to do this forever. You know that way? And it goes back to the helping people. Because part of my career was they moved me into out of operations and into a role, an HR role, right? HR, what the hell did I know about HR? And it was career development. And I would sit with women, men, people, right? And I would sit down and have a conversation. I'd say, what's the next 5-7 years look like for you? Well, I don't know. Nobody's ever asked me that before.
Yeah.
Are you happy in your job? I'm happy. What would you, if you could do anything in the next 2 to 3 years, what would it be? Oh, I'd love to be a project engineer, or I'd love to be a this. Or, okay, let's look at that.
Yeah.
How do we get you to that point? So what is it you need to have happen between now and 18, 24 months to make sure that you're in a position to get that role? Yeah. And I would just sit down and all of a sudden, just by talking it through and telling them, bringing it down into wee stages, this thing that they seemed that in their mind was so far away, all of a sudden, God, in 18 months I can have that. Of course you can.
Yeah.
But you need to put the work in.
Yeah.
You need to put the work in.
Yeah.
And it was that role, and I only did that role for 18 months. And then I get pulled out, right?
Yeah.
That's you. We've cleaned you up a bit. You understand that. Back into operations.
Yeah.
And I was miserable.
Yeah.
For the next 2 years, 2.5 years, I was absolutely miserable because I missed that giving, that supporting. I missed it. I really missed.
Yeah, the contribution.
I mean, it was contribution to the business in terms of revenue and growth.
Yeah.
But my personal contribution, I felt lost.
Yeah, and it's, I approach that very similar but slightly different with when I was doing personal development with people, in terms of, I'd be asking, what are their goals, what they want to achieve, and actually some of them had the answers, which was great. A lot of the hard work was done. And then I always went back to that and says, okay, if I could give you this salary in this position tomorrow, do you think you'd be able to handle it? Do you have the maturity to handle it? Do you have the skill set to handle it? And more often than not, I'd be like, actually, no, I've always earned this. If I had double my salary, what am I going to do? And,
mindset.
And we worked back that way and got them to identify, right, what am I lacking during this? So they picked up on that. Do you know what I mean? And it is, like you touched on there, about that, just working with people. And I had this conversation recently as yesterday with one of my colleagues, and we were looking at his goals and what he was trying to achieve and stuff like that. And it was coming back to, well, I need to do this for the company, I need to do this for the company, I need to do this for the company. And I was trying to say, well, your strategic cycle is finite. Do you know what I mean? It's got a finish line before you move into the new one. Yeah. And I don't think that really motivates people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's more about the infinite journey. How good can I become? And tying it back to that and saying, well, where can we get you to, rather than just what does a company want? Do you know what I mean? Because I think, there's a famous saying, you have to work harder on yourself than you do in your job. And I completely endorse that. And always I've always looked at roles and definitely new responsibilities with people and saying, right, if you enter a promotion today, if we look at it as like a 100-yard sprint, you've maybe entered 50 yards from that finish line of where the capabilities of the role are. What we want to try and do is then over time get you 50 yards ahead of the finish line, so you're stretching the role rather than the role stretching you. And for me, that's what always the goal is with that personal development, is getting the person to be developing personally so that they end up stretching that role rather than the role stretching them, if that makes sense.
I want to stick to that then. Would you say that unless someone believes they're capable of the end result, then they'll never actually go on and achieve it?
Yeah, I think I've got a weakness in terms of, what you talk about, if somebody just does not believe, do you know what I mean? And I like to give them a chance and a chance and a chance to help.
You try and mould them.
But I struggle with the poor me syndrome. No, every
well, you know, I'm right a lot about that.
Not necessarily in a professional sense, but people in their personal life where not everything bad that happens to
mentality,
them.
I call it.
Do you know what I mean? They're driving to work, they've got a puncture, they've no fuel, they've ran out of fuel, they split up with their girlfriend, but everything happens. And I do recognise, I had this conversation we've brought this coach into work, and I do recognise, thankfully I don't work with anyone like this, but I've recognised in the past, when I've come to the conclusion that this person just does not want to help themselves, it's like they disappear. They're no longer there for. And they could be on fire next door to me.
Them. I agree.
And I wouldn't notice. So you're right. I think I like to give somebody an opportunity. They might come from a position where I just do not believe. So you work with them and help them, but at the same time, there's got to be a cut-off point.
Absolutely.
When that cut-off point is, it's different per person. Do you know what I mean? You can't say it's 1 month, 5 sessions, 2 years. You sort of judge that as you're going along, and I think that comes back to the social work side as well. Do you know what I mean? There's probably many chances that someone could have gave up on me, because part of my job in there was administration, and I always remember one of the comments from the lady was she was head of adult services at the time, and my job was she would dictate into a dictaphone, and my job was to type, the mental health reports and stuff. And she ended up coming through one time saying, "Sam, do you actually know how to spell?" Because it was just terrible. Do you know what I mean? Because I was terrible at school. And we went on, and she
could type.
Yeah, could type extremely fast. At the keyboard, and they ended up sending me to South Lanarkshire College to get better at, and so they took that opportunity. Whereas, somebody with maybe a little bit less patience could have just went, "No, this guy's not good."
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? Let's just try and find somebody who knows how to spell. Do you know what I mean? So I think you need to judge it per person. Do you know what I mean? But I think through time, your experience, I'm experienced, I think I like to think that I've got a good grasp of someone very early. As I said, we've brought this coach in at work, and she's been doing all these assessments with us, and my top 3 skill sets that came out was risk-taking, trusting and methodical. And we're talking about the trusting part, and I trust first, and then it's down to somebody to lose my trust.
Yes.
I'm not one of these people that are quite cagey and say, well, no, you have to do something first.
You get my trust.
Yeah.
Don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
Excuse language, but I mean, you've got my trust.
Yeah, absolutely. So I trust immediately, and I think through time you get a good judgment, you can make that call. And I'm an eternal optimist. I believe people are genuinely good people. And
I really do believe that as well. Honestly, I believe that most people are doing their best in life with the tools that they've got. The problem is they don't have all the tools.
Yes.
That's really, and that goes back to how the conversation started about if you have had, I'll say, a poor upbringing or poor role models, then unfortunately that's what you think life is like. Whether it's you're limiting yourself to your opportunities in life, whether you're talking yourself out of stuff, whatever it is, a lot of your behaviours are role or models of your parents. Generally your parents. So for example, most people will vote the same political party as their parents.
Absolutely.
Why? Because their parents did. They generally go to the same bank as their parents do. Why? Only because their parents. So we model a lot of those behaviours, and I think as we talked about, it really is about just sometimes, and anybody listening, if we're talking about the victim mentality and that, it's everybody deserves a chance. Right. But you can't do it for them.
Absolutely.
You cannot do it for them. As we said, and there's a couple of points I want to dive into. It's everybody deserves a chance, but not everybody will take it. No matter how much. Even this is another thing, right? I can sit with people and I know they get it. But yet they can't get themselves out of the victim mentality. They understand that it's them that's attracting all this into their life. They're bringing this stuff into their life, and they don't, I'm a big believer in life happens for you, not to you. And I say to them, but you're exactly where you believe you deserve to be. I say, that's where you are in life. You're attracting the people, you're attracting that stuff in your life. And they get it and they understand it, but they still can't move forward. It's crazy.
I think people get addicted to the drama, don't they?
Absolutely.
Through my life, I move further and further away from where I grew up, and further away from my parents, just because there is that addiction to drama, that addiction to hard life. And I always go back when I got my new house 3 years ago, and I had some family members come over, and immediately the conversation goes into what happened 20 years ago. And it's like a badge of honour, all this crap that happened. And I just had to stop it and say, look, we don't have these conversations in this house. We have more positive conversations about the future.
Yeah.
There's absolutely some things about the past that we should talk about, but there's some things that are not even worth a second thought anymore. But there's like that. So I think there's definitely, I've realised that after travelling the world, there's definitely a west coast of Scotland type culture with that, where we're drawn to that drama and we think that's life. Do you know what I mean? We think that
because historically the west coast of Scotland was a very poor. I mean, when you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm working class," and I'm like, "No, you weren't the working class. I was working class." Right? A very working class background mentality. We didn't have designer trainers. We were given hand-me-downs, and it was just a way of life, wasn't it? It was just a way of life. And I think that might be, and I don't know, but I think that is that why we are the way we are. But another thing, right, you mentioned about earlier on is when setting goals. Right, setting goals for your team and I remember, right, so every employee that normally comes that's hired, if they're reporting directly to me, even if they're not actually, I always sit with them and I'll talk to them and I'll talk about what's your big goals, what's one thing this year that you would love to have happen. And they'll say, oh, you know, I'd love to have bought a new Range Rover, or oh, I want to go on this holiday, and right, let's put a plan in place to make this happen, right? So this is your basics salary. This is how we can get you to that new car or that. And what does it look like? And I try and paint the picture, right? And most people will be like, yeah, I believe it. And I'll go, let me ask you a question. Do you really believe it? Or are you just saying that? Well, I'm just saying that. I said, many times have you said it before? Or probably every time somebody's asked me about goals. And then I'll go, what is it you don't believe? Because they're telling me this is my goal and this is what I want to do, but inside their own head they're going, but that'll never happen because it's never happened before. So they're almost talking their way, they're negative affirmations about all the reasons why it won't happen. You know, and that's quite a West of Scotland thing as well. It
is, and I think part of that is what we eat's important, but so is what we see. Do you know what I mean? And some people can visualize something and turn it into reality, and then some people need to visualize it and then turn it into reality. You know, they need to walk around, and it takes me back to what I like to call my mini retirement. 8 years ago when I turned 36, I got to that point, like you were talking about earlier, and is this as good as it gets? Do you know what I mean? I had a great job, part of the leadership team, great mentors round about us.
Senior leadership team, but I was like, is this as good as it gets? Do you know what I mean? The conversations about redundancies, and there's these shareholders that are multimillionaires, and we need to make redundancies, and I'm talking about making redundancies of people who are on 15 grand a year, just to sort this share price, and I was like, is this as good as it gets? Do you know what I mean? But at that same time, I was struggling to see what else, because this was there. So I made the decision, planned it out, sold everything, sold my car, sold my TV, stripped everything back. I had a long notice period. We negotiated on extended negotiating period because the company wanted me to complete some objectives first. But what I did to visualize something better, I deliberately sold my car because I lived in an area called Knightswood in Glasgow. It was an okay area, but to walk to work, I had to walk through Bearsden. And I probably scared the crap out of the people in Bearsden, because I used to just walk by and stand outside the houses and just look at the houses. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, it's probably set off the car alarms, the burglar alarms. But that helped me. I had to see it first and foremost. And I've always said that to people, that if they're in this area and they want to do more but they can't visualise it, just jump on a bus, take the bus to Bearsden, take it to Mulgavie, take it to somewhere. There's a nice place somewhere. And just walk round about it. Do you know what I mean? And that might be what you need to see. Do you know what I mean? And that was definitely how I had to operate. Do you know what I mean? Whereas some people can go, right, actually, I'm going to go for it. I had to force myself to just go in and have a look at these places and go, I'm very much visualise and execute. You know, I kind of see something and I'm just, I'm all in. You've heard the saying, burn the bridges. See, when I go.
Yeah,
I'm all in.
I completely agree with that.
I'm all in.
Yeah, we had a conversation at my work a while back with that, is I do believe in burning bridges.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
It's
that saying.
They're done.
If you want to take the island, burn the boat.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And,
well, that's a saying. Is that a quote from? It's a famous quote, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I've heard the quote, and where it came from was when I got promoted in the company before last, and I was 29, I got promoted to the senior leadership team. I was suddenly in amongst all these academics and stuff like that, and I'm sitting here, no qualifications, going, what do you know what I mean? Feeling very unpolished. And so before I would execute on anything, I would always go and seek assurance from it first and foremost. And at one time, the CEO just turned around and said to us, says, look, Samuel, ask for forgiveness, not permission. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And just go for it. He says, because if you see something and you go for it, but you get it wrong, at least I know I can trust you to take action. Mm-hmm. And experience will help you make a better decision.
What a good boss that guy must have been.
Whereas if you don't take the call, then nothing's going to happen, and I know I can't trust you to take action. But if you take action, you get it right, then great, everybody's won. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So don't ask for permission, just ask for forgiveness. Do you know what I mean? And I've learned to hone that through through times, and that's definitely helped shape that. That go for it, burn the boats, have no fear. Yeah. Let's say, if you like one of these people, let's get over the hill, and it's too hard to go back. Aye. There's no option now. We need to move forward. We need to go for it. It's too late. Do you know what I mean? I'm sorry, I've made this call, but it's too late. We just need to move forward now.
Absolutely. Listen, so anybody listening to this, let's say they're maybe in their early stages of their sales careers or their business journey. What is it you would say to them? Like, you're sitting down with them and they're having a conversation and they're asking you, like, I'm really struggling to move forward. What's your advice? Because you've been very successful in your career. Everything you do, you've got that mindset of, I want to do it the best. Right? I want to be the best at that. Yeah. What is that? How does that manifest inside you, and how do that cause?
I think from a leadership point of view, one of the primary purposes of leadership is we need to create the future. We need to anticipate the future and then create the future. Mm-hmm. That either fits in with the way the market's going, or we try to change the market. So I think they need to do an insane level amount of scenario planning. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's one of the key things I've done for years and years and years, is just map out the next 10 years. Wow. Okay, if I promote this person, what's the chain effect? If we results keep doing this, what's the chain effect? Because there's no decisions in isolation, is it? There's always a knock-on effect.
Absolutely.
Because then by doing it that way, it gives you time to realise if you've made the wrong decision or not. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? So
quicker, you can realise quicker.
Yeah. And that was one of the conversations we had with the coach when she was talking about my personality comes across as a risk taker. And my head, risk taking is gung ho, not calculated. Yeah. Whereas in my head, it's calculated. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because I've got 15 different scenario plans of what could happen, and you've got experience. So that would be the big advice: is always mapping out. Don't worry too much about today. Mm-hmm. Map out the future. Do you know what I mean? Map out the future, and more often than not, through time, the day will take care of itself. Do you know what I mean? Because especially in sales, I'd say consultative sales, and even transactional sales to an extent, but consultative sales, the sales you get today is not generally because the calls you made today. It's because the calls you made a year ago.
Absolutely.
Or didn't make a year ago.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's always getting into that.
Because nothing's ready to buy.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's about that understanding that things will take time, and it's mapping out that future and knowing that if you're seeing a dip in sales today, it's likely because you've not done the work today. It's probably because you never did the work a year ago.
Yeah.
And so and that's quite hard.
For me, I always think in our business, we're a 4 to 6 month cycle.
Yeah.
What you do 6 months or between 4 and 6 months ago affects what happens today.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah. And it's hard
whether
for
it's
people,
a pipeline, whatever it is.
And it's hard for people to see that. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And that's where you get your peaks and troughs, because times turn good, and sometimes, I don't need to make this extra call. I'm on target.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I
don't need to have this meeting because I'm ahead of target, and I'm having a really great month. But then in 6 months, the results are not there because you took the foot off the gas.
Absolutely.
That time. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that would be the main advice, is really about anticipating the future, creating the future, and knowing that the work you do today is not necessarily for today.
Absolutely.
It's for in a year's time or whatever your sales cycle is.
Yeah. Amazing. Right. I'm going to ask you another thing. So I ask all my guests this, their top 3 pieces of advice. So if you were advising somebody, you know, a young entrepreneur, somebody in sales looking to develop their career, from a leadership point of view, what's your top 3 pieces of advice for that person?
Switch off music and listen to podcasts.
Love it. I'm a huge podcaster. Or audiobook.
Or audios or stuff. I find music is very much emotional and creates memories or brings up memories, where I've always found audiobooks, podcasts, motivational stuff helps you visualize, not memorize. So I think that would be there. Understanding that if you feel as if it's, don't believe in the saying that when people say it's lonely at the top, because I think if you find yourself lonely at the top, you've not brought enough people along with you. Do you know what I mean? And if that comes back to, I hate the statement, no, self-made millionaire or I come from nothing. Well, everyone's come from something. It depends on how you use that.
Absolutely.
And nobody's made $1 million on their own. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's been inspired by someone, helped by someone. My
own business wouldn't be where it was without people.
Without people,
like it's not me that's built it. It's my vision. But it's not me that's built it.
Absolutely. And so that would be the second bit, is getting people round about you. Not knowing that people are on that journey with you. You can't do it on your own. Do you know what I mean? You can't do it on your own. And the third bit is energy. You got to look after your energy. Do you know what I mean? With the right energy, anything's possible. Without energy, the hard things become impossible and the easy things become hard. Do you know what I mean? And so it's really looking after your health from that energy.
Talk about the energy. That's a really great point, because I'm a huge believer in it. When you talk about energy, what do you mean by that? Because people think energy is just all that woo-woo stuff.
No, not in terms of, obviously, I think nothing goes wrong with a good level of physical fitness. Absolutely. Do you know what I mean? But there's some people you can see who are not physically fit and who are absolutely smashing it. Do you know what I mean? So I think a lot of that energy comes from the mindset. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of that comes from that, again, visualizing the future, knowing that the next 5 years are going to pass with or without us. And if I'm in the same place in 5 years' time as I am today, then I'm behind, because we live in a world now where there's no standing still. You're either going backwards or you're going forwards.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? The pace of change is that great. And I think that's where, when I talk about energy, is that mental energy. And you do need, I'm not an expert on work-life balance and know what's the right amount of downtime. Because
I think it does. I think it changes. As your priorities change work-life balance.
And sometimes you can... it can come up and bite you in the bum as well. As good as you think that you might be and you think you're looking after yourself, you realise that actually I need a rest. Do you know what I mean? I'm run down a little bit. And no, I think sometimes as men, that is one of the biggest things, because we sort of just ignore this. I don't need to go to the doctor. It's hurt my side, but that's fine. I'll go away. This lump will go away. Do you know what I mean? And I think,
know me, but I'm not taking risks.
And so I think no, it's that energy aspect. It's more that mental energy, but absolutely mental fatigue come in, and you do need to take your foot off the gas now and then. When to do that, I've no idea. It's unique to you.
Whenever you feel like it's time.
It's unique to you. No, there was when I became MD in the previous place, the energy was not the same as when I was the head of strategy and sales. And I went out a week just back on the front line in sales for a week in Poland, I remember it. And I came back and I was like, that was relentless and I loved it. But I was like, oh. Do you know what I mean? I was like, and so I think that bit will never go away. Do you know what I mean? There's times, and again, I think it comes back to the time of your life, the career that you're in, the job that you're in. each position requires a slightly different version of yourself. So absolutely, when I mean energy, it's that more mental energy. Physical energy, absolutely. But like I says, I've seen many people who you would go, they're not running 50 yards, never mind 100 yards.
But their brain is on fire.
But they're on fire. Do you know what I mean? So that's what real, when I say energy, it's that mental energy.
I mean, I'm a massive believer in it. You know, as you said, podcasts, it's part of my everyday life. And I look at podcasts as what can I learn or unlearn? Right. That's always my goal. What can I learn or unlearn? So most of my podcasts are generally about leadership, business, growth, people development, personal development, money, like always trying to up my game. Right. And then I'm a big gym goer, right? I'm in the gym 6 days a week because the gym is my release. So I'm up early in the morning, and then normally we go to the gym around 11:30 for 45 minutes. 45 minutes. Me and my wife both go to the gym, and that's our break. That's our day broke up. Right, and then in the afternoon we'll maybe work to 6:30. Most nights to 6:30. Now we've been in the office since 6 o'clock. So there's, you know, but it breaks our day up. And it goes back to that work-life balance. We both run the business together. Come the weekend, right? If I don't have anything planned, I'll work. Not because I need to. Because I can. Because I can. There's no noise. There's no phone calls, and I can get in the zone. I can really get in the zone, and then guess what happens? Come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'm a way ahead. My week started, and I've done 2 days. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think that's a huge thing that a lot of people miss. Yes, if you've got a family, a young family, you need to spend time with them. But I think always set time aside, whether it's on a Sunday. This is I'm a big believer. I've always done this, right, my whole career. Every Sunday, I used to take 2 hours, and I'd plan my week. I'd sit down, I'd go, right, what needs to have happen to make sure I'm moving my team forward, I'm moving the business forward, we're meeting our targets, what's the things that need to have happen? And I would sit and write a list of all the things that need to have happen. Then I'd put them in a schedule for the day, like what's the top things this day, and what's the most things that need to happen this day. And that's almost my non-negotiables. I call them my must-dos. Now, there's only maybe 3 or 4 a day things on there, maybe 4 hours work. Because remember, I've got a business, I've got a job, I've got stuff that'll come in, I've got phone calls, I've got all this other stuff. But is my non-negotiables. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of how I try and I always say to people, take a bit of time, plan your day, plan your week. You know, that's how you're going to go.
On a Sunday, I do the same. It doesn't take 2 hours now, but Sunday used to always be my day. And then just through having the young one, what I found was I came across a podcast one time, and I can't remember who it was, but the person was talking about, I think it was driven from the book CEO Excellence, and the person was talking about having an untouchable day. And I made my untouchable day the Thursday. So my PA at the time, I just says, look, fill out my diary, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, but Thursday's my day. Thursday's my day. If I just want to walk about and go and speak to the employees and seeing how they're doing, and love it. And that allowed me that free day of my day. If somebody wanted to come and speak to me, but I had no meetings. Do you know what I mean? I didn't have to be anywhere.
You could just have conversations with people.
The chats, and then just walk about. But it also allowed me to then look at, well, it's Thursday, Friday, you're into the weekend, it's next week. It allowed me to see that viewpoint of the following week as well. Do you know what I mean? So I used to do it on a Sunday, then to a Thursday. Now I'm back to a Sunday because I don't have a PA anymore.
Listen, Samuel, it's been an absolute pleasure to have a chat with you this morning. And listen, how can people, if anybody's listening to this and they're thinking, I'd like to reach out and speak to you, how can people get in contact with you, Samuel?
Not on a Thursday. On LinkedIn. Just search me up on LinkedIn and send me a message.
Brilliant. Listen, as I said, an absolute pleasure, and thank you for coming along.
Awesome. Thank you.